This is the milk crate challenge.
Hey everybody, may I have your attention please?
The internet's latest viral sensation involves 50 or so milk crates stacked precariously on uneven ground in a makeshift pyramid. The contestants attempt to traverse the entire structure without falling while onlookers laugh, yell, and place bets. Let it be said that completing the milk crate challenge is an impressive physical feat. It requires incredible balance, proprioception, and single leg stability. The body works to steady itself on a relatively small surface area that becomes more unstable as you climb higher.
Let's go, Chubb. Let's go, Chubb.
All right. Boom! Some approach the pyramid with intense focus, patience, and confidence.
He said he too comfortable. He too comfortable. Ooh. Ooh.
Making it look easy. Making it look easy. And some rely on luck. Plenty of it.
Come on, man. Man, I'm gonna buy you a zombie.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's lucky. That's lucky. So now we know it's not impossible, but I assure you this challenge is not all fun and games.
He got it too.
Come on, man. Clearly, he did not have this too. Here we see the challenger fall before he has even reached the pinnacle of the milk crate pyramid. While climbing to the top, he starts to lose his balance as a column starts to lean to the left. But rather than stopping and waiting to allow the column to stop swaying, he continues on forward. This throws his momentum off to the left rather than directly forward. And as he steps to the next column, it too is then pushed off center to the left. The challenger falls backwards to his right to land directly onto his sacrum, the point where his pelvis and his spine meet. His back is forced into hyperextension as it curves backward over the crate towards the ground. For his coup de grace, he then rolls off the crate to land upside down on his head. Potential injuries would include a low back contusion and possible lumbar spine fracture, and possibly a cervical spine flexion injury from landing on his head. Not bad for a day's work. He appears to be moving his upper extremities after he lands on the ground, so at least we know that he is not a quadriplegic. So there's that.
Oh, chill.
Boom! Man, I hope that dude is okay.
Oh, chill.
Yeah. Challenger number 2 was at a disadvantage right from the start. While he did make it to the top of the milk crate pyramid, we can see that the pyramid was not symmetrically shaped, with an extra large step down from the peak on the backside of the pyramid. The challenger was forced to reach quite far to make the next step. Unfortunately, when he did this, he leaned forward, which brought his center of gravity away from the column on which he was standing. The change of direction caused the column to fall backwards, pitching the challenger forward. Although he landed feet first on another column, he fell into the splits and tumbled forward over another column that turned him upside down. He lands directly onto his head and neck, and he immediately goes limp. It is not clear whether he has a brief loss of consciousness and that is why he goes limp, or whether this paralysis is for another reason. He does not appear to be moving his extremities after he is on the ground, so paralysis is definitely a possibility. So too would be a cervical spine injury caused by the combined cervical flexion and lateral bending when he landed on his head. This type of impact would cause a cervical facet dislocation or a fracture dislocation of the cervical spine. Don't do it. Don't do it. Boom! Boom! Oh my goodness. Boom! Oh. Again, we have a challenger who has made it to the top of the pyramid. While at the top of the pyramid, we can see that he is unstable and having a hard time maintaining his balance. Rather than waiting until the column had returned to stability, the challenger chose to lunge forward to the next step, perhaps in an attempt to cut his losses. Maybe his judgment was impaired by the substance advertised on the billboard behind him when he stepped forward, or perhaps not. Like the second challenger, he fell forward from a height of approximately 8 feet. In this case, he landed directly onto his face and chest. Fortunately, he lands with his body parallel to the ground so that his neck is in a relatively neutral position. This is relatively protective for his cervical spine, but not so much for his face. In this situation, we could expect injuries to his jaw or mandible, or his face or maxilla. Given the manner in which his face bounces off the ground, I would expect that he is going to need the services of a maxillofacial specialist when all is said and done. But at least he can take comfort knowing that he can get 20% off at Quality Care Cannabis while recovering from his surgery. If he is savvy, he might be able to eke out an additional 10% for the exposure that he is giving them in this video. And no, he certainly cannot fly.
You get over, you gotta go. That's the secret of it. Thank you.
Okay, no, that was bad advice. Bad advice. As with the other challengers, we see that the descent seems to be much more challenging than the ascent. Here, the challenger makes it several steps down towards the ground before the inevitable happens. Rather than pitching forward, the challenger loses their balance ever so slightly, leaning towards the left. Newton's third law states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In this context, this is exemplified by the crate column kicking out to the right as the challenger falls to the left. The challenger lands directly on their left side on top of a crate. This could result in one or more rib fractures and possibly even a pneumothorax or a punctured lung. You might even say that this challenger might be waiting to exhale after this fall. Damn! Sometimes the young are brash and bold. They approach challenges with vigor and without fear or hesitation. This is not always the best approach, as this challenger demonstrates. While he makes it up the front side of the pyramid in record time, his forward momentum does not allow him to adequately slow for the descent on the back side. Unfortunately, he loses his balance and literally catapults himself forward into the air. Fortunately, however, he is able to use his cat-like reflexes to turn himself in the air just enough so that he is able to absorb the impact with the ground with his shoulder rather than his head or his neck. We could expect, at the very least, a shoulder separation where his shoulder blade and the end of his clavicle are dislocated. If he was unlucky, he might even have a humerus fracture at the level of the shoulder or an injury to his rotator cuff. So I think that it is safe to say that speed is not always the recommended approach. In my professional opinion, you should not attempt the milk crate challenge, and especially not with a running start. While I suppose that I should be happy that these challenges are keeping surgeons like myself busy, this is probably one time where, in the interest of self-preservation, most people should take a hard pass on the milk crate challenge.
So last night, I finally was able to do the crate challenge, and it's the end results right here.
Thanks for watching. I will see you for rounds next week. And as always, that's been a word from Dr. Chris, not your everyday ortho.